Greetings, greetings, greetings. This is just a very quick recording to sort of explain what's going on here. Some of the things on the faceplate may not do what they're labeled they do, but we can go over it and talk about that a little bit. So let's just start at the top. You're going to see a five selector switch. It'll say LC1, LC2. I mean, these are just low cuts. Right now I have it in the middle position. And if I want, I can bring more bass in, or I can take that bass out, depending on what it is that I'm looking for. We'll put it right back in the center position there. The next switch down from that says 5200, and that's just an impedance thing. If I flip it up to 50, you're going to get a lot more presence and a little bit of distortion. So here we are. There at the 50 setting. Let's take that back over to 200. So you have the 5200. Next to that is a phantom power switch. And of course, this little mic's using phantom power. By the way, I'm using the blue microphone, a little blue bottle intentionally. It's not fair to show someone a pre with like a U87. Like, oh, here, check out my really nice U87. So, just kind of going through that. Right after that's a phase switch. That's always good for vocalists. I always ask, like, is this better or that better? Because that way, they're either in or out of phase in their own headset. There's a pad. It says pad. Notice there's a pad. It's all gone. But then you can bring that back. What else? Well, let's get to the knobs. The first one says pentode, and that's how hard you drive into the pentode. The harder you drive in, typically, the fatter things are going to be. So, and then there's a triode knob, and you kind of have to play those off. The triode knob actually has two gain stages attached to it, so it can ramp up quickly. The pentode knob is a little bit more forgiving. So, like right here, I'm driving the pentode a lot more. I'll bring it back to around 2 o'clock. And then I'll drive the triode harder. Notice when I really drive it, I can start hearing some of the fluorescence and stuff. I'm driving things fairly hard. So we'll bring that back. So you have pentode, triode. You also have an output. You could bring the output back, drive the pentode really hard, and then drive the triode, and you could try to get like kind of a compressed signal doing things that way. So let's bring all that back. And you can hear it when I drive things really hard. You can hear some of that buzz. Tube preamps are known for that. You have an air switch. It doesn't really seem to do that much. You're only getting about 1.5 dB of air. I thought maybe the circuit would give me more, but that's just what it is. In some situations, it'll be nice. It does add a little bit of overall grittiness to things, but let's just take that back out. You'll also notice there's a DI on here. The DI sounds pretty good, I think. If you just plug in, it disconnects the microphone, and then you have just a DI. And gain for days on that. Probably a bass would sound, I would think a bass would sound really good in that. So, so you got a DI, you got a little air, you got a pad, you got the 5200 impedance switch, you got a 5-position low cut, and then you got the pentodes and triode and the output. You can play all of those off against each other. My advice would be maybe to use I think condenser mics are going to sound better in this. than dynamic microphones. I think that's just typically how it's going to be. Unless it's a loud source like a kick or a snare, I think you'd be okay. If you were trying to do voiceovers with a dynamic, this preamp probably doesn't have the drive. I mean, they can get an incredible amount of drive out of solid state devices. You can only get so much out of a vacuum tube preamp. So there's that. We can go like really, really thin. We could thin this out a lot and have some vocals that sound like that. I wish this record monitor I was using had a little bit more dynamic range. I could really go nuts. But that's kind of what we have, and that's definitely where we're at. And so I'll stop this recording, and I think you should be in business.